Hey everybody, it's Marking Bad, and it took me a couple of days of sitting around and thinking about everything I saw go on over the weekend, because the events at Berkeley, frankly, struck me as being just absurd. Sorry, I had just had to mute. I'd forgotten that I'd left the actual video stream audible, so it was confusing me. Now, there's a few things that particularly come to my mind concerning what we saw, and this is the third time that events have occurred at Berkeley that have escalated rapidly. And I'm not going to throw any rocks at anybody in particular as to who escalated more than anybody else. I don't particularly care. But if you're going to try and make any argument about Antifa having had any kind of mandate at Berkeley, it should be one that there is a moral duty to respond to apparently legitimate white nationalists and neo-Nazis through speech, not through violence, because when you engage in violence, you necessitate some level of violent response. Even if it's only a response that involves defending oneself. I mean, that still, it requires violence to some extent. Now, Antifa and the Black Bloc and much of the left have spent the last, certainly seems to me, to have been about 18 months pushing this narrative that if you disagree with any aspect of what they carry on about, that you are inherently neo-Nazi or a fascist or some kind of absolutely reprehensible individual. And I find that absolutely flabbergasting, especially when you consider that they have then turned that argument to a moral justification of their civic and moral duty to engage in violence against anybody thus labeled. When you show up to an event after having posted to social media that you have an intent to take 100 neo-Nazi scalps, you wear motorcycle gloves with Kevlar, knuckle guards, and reinforcement. You're pictured with a glass wine bottle that clearly have brandished, and your compatriots have been firing bottles at other people, and you move to interfere or be present in the immediate vicinity of a fight that is going on. You place yourself in harm's way. There's no argument to be presented to me that in any way justifies claiming that she did not knowingly involve herself in a fight and that she was not present as a combatant. If you're going to argue that men and women are equal and that women have every right that men have to be involved in combat situations in the military, you must also presume that women that involve themselves directly in combative situations with foreknowledge of that situation being a combative situation must also accept that she knew what she was getting up to. And while she may not have deserved to be punched, she certainly couldn't cry about it and should not be crying about it. And that completely ignores this argument that the left has been presenting for numerous years, that gender is a social construct. Because if gender is truly a social construct, I'm going to argue right now that neither of them were men nor women. They were amorphous blobs that happened to have had a vaguely humanoid shape, and they were flailing at each other. So, sorry if you don't like that, Antifa. I'm sorry if you don't like that, members of the radical left or even the moderate left. You're all fucking retards. Now, to speak to the motivations of Nathan, whatever his name is, the man that did the punching, you're an idiot too. Let's get that out the way. If you legitimately think that there is an argument to be made for a Nazi system, well then, I hope you appreciate being put against the wall, just like Antifa doesn't appreciate being put against the wall if they get their inevitable revolution. Not sure how much farther I can go with this, because it baffles me that people are actively attempting to conflate the right of the individual to respond to language with violence. I think that's really all I have to say on it. I can't be arsed. You're all behaving like a bunch of squalling children. It's about time you maybe started talking instead of having tantrums. God, they're all embarrassing.